What's up, everybody? Keith Liberty here from Loud, Proud American. You guys might know me for many different reasons. Maybe you follow me on Instagram. Maybe you follow me on TikTok for some humor. Maybe you follow me on Facebook. We've been friends for a while. Or you just follow that Made in USA brand, Loud, Proud American. Or maybe you're a subscriber to my personal podcast, the Loud, Proud American podcast known as Share the Struggle. Either way, however you know me, however you follow me, I appreciate you. As 2022 gets started, I'm realizing I've kind of been slacking when it comes to social media. So I really want to ramp that up. I also want to ramp up our video content. So I'm coming to you now with a special video for YouTube. And I hope you guys enjoy the video. And I hope it gives you a little bit more insight into myself and my brand and the task at hand. In 2022, I really want to have a playlist on our YouTube channel that really focuses on the business, on the brand, and what it means to be an entrepreneur, a small business owner, and you're, in that bootstrap phase where you're trying to lace them up, you're trying to get up, and you're trying to get to those goals that you set for yourself. So I really want this to be the first video in that series of videos throughout the year that'll come out where we can share our struggle, no pun intended, about trying to be an entrepreneur, trying to start that small business, maybe share some of the insights and maybe get out some of those fears and those doubts, and together we can work them out. So in this video, I'm going to share with you some insight about me, my brand, the best business I've been able to align myself with for my field of interest, and my biggest success story for the brand in 2021. So let's get it done. A quick little screenshot, insight on myself and the reason for launching the brand. I'm a small town boy, raised in Arundel, Maine. My entire life I've had a passion for sales and for Harley-Davidson, for sports and many other things. But as I started to get older, I decided to connect two of my passions. So I took sales and Harley-Davidson, I put them together. I took a job at a Harley-Davidson dealership in Portland, Maine. I started out on the sales floor just as a everyday sales guy. Over the course of 10 years, I took myself from being an everyday sales consultant and started to brand myself and to push myself to really just establish a brand of me and try to advertise to the local community who I was and the fact that you wanted to buy your Harley-Davidson from me. So I started to get involved in some events, some off-site events, some marketing stuff. I came up with my own website. It was called IGotMineGoGetYours.com, where when you would come in and buy a motorcycle from me, I would have you fill out a little survey, we'd take a photo together. How you doing? And I would give you a t-shirt with my own logo that was made, and some pens and some just little tchotchkes for you to get out there and start pushing your friends to me. And I set up different referral programs for you to send business to me. So I started to build the brand of me, okay? So I started doing that. Eventually, over the course of my 10 years for Harley-Davidson, I went from being a sales consultant to an events coordinator, to a sales manager, to an events manager, to a general manager. And my last year in the Harley-Davidson industry, I actually became a partner. That's right, I became an owner for a Harley-Davidson dealership. At that point, I really truly felt that my 30-year plan was written in stone. My wife and I were super excited about the direction for us and our family and all the potential and opportunity that came to me by being an owner for a Harley-Davidson dealership. Now, when I started, I had a wee bit of little percentage in the business, okay? I started off as a wee little lad, but every year my ownership would double. It would grow and grow and grow, and eventually in 10 years then I'd be in a position where I had a real stake of ownership and I could potentially buy out the majority owner, and he could, move off into retirement, and I could take the business and the brand to whatever heights I felt possible, okay? Well, that was a great plan. Unfortunately, the majority owner for the dealership got a divorce and a new girlfriend and decided he wanted to travel and didn't really care so much about working. So, behind my back, behind the scenes, he decided to sell the dealership to another Harley-Davidson dealership. Actually, it's a group of people that own several Harley-Davidson dealerships in New England. So, without me knowing, they decided to sell the dealership. Now, as me being a wee percentage owner of the dealership, I had to go along with it. I have no say in the direction for the dealership when it comes to a decision this big. I don't own enough stake in the dealership to make any difference or headway. It wasn't offered to me to buy it. I didn't have the money to buy it. Could I have gone out and seek some partners? Yeah, I think I could, but that opportunity was never presented to me. So for me, I was given really an ultimatum. Number one, shut your mouth or you get sued. And that's first and foremost. Number two, if you don't stick it out, if you leave right now, you have nothing. Okay? Or you can stick it out and go along with the transfer of ownership. And I could stay with the dealership. They made me a really nice offer to stay. Or I could take, at the moment of sale, my wee bit of percentage in the dealership and head in my own direction. Okay? So when I was faced with all these things, I ended up sitting with the new group of owners. They talked about the direction of the dealership and the way things were going to go. They said they wanted me to be on their team, but I didn't really have any say-so in the direction of the dealership, or I didn't have any say in who would stay or who would go. And I really truly felt that a lot of people that I care about, people that were on my team, that I wanted to be on my team, were going to be escorted out, and I would have to just sit back and watch and see all those things happen. Well, that wasn't me. I couldn't sign up for that. Push comes to shove, they managed to offer me a sales manager's gig for roughly $120,000 a year. Great income I was super excited about, something that could obviously help me and my family. But I was not in charge. I was in charge of one department. I didn't get to protect the people that I cared about. I didn't get to defend the people that got me to where I was for my success, for my life. I couldn't stand around and do that. I also knew the direction for the dealership, the price changes for the dealership, these things where, for me, Harley-Davidson's a lifestyle, okay? It's a family. And if I've been working with you for 10 years and you're expected and accustomed to working with me and getting a certain level of treatment from me, all of a sudden you're going to come in and not get that same level of treatment. You're going to come in and your prices have dramatically changed and all these things. I didn't want to be a part of that, okay? I didn't want to do something purely for a paycheck. So I had a conversation with my wife. We really talked things out and we decided, you know what? It's not a good idea for you to stick around, because no matter how much money you're making, you're always going to be thinking, what would I do with the direction of this ship? How much more could I be making if I was stolen owner for this place? And you just couldn't live with yourself selling your soul to a paycheck and watching people you cared about get escorted out. It just wasn't something that I could do. I made the decision to leave the dealership at the time of sale. So mind you, because I'm an owner, I have to stick through it, okay? Then when it comes down to the day of the sale, I sign off on my portion of it. Then eventually, as paperwork gets processed, I would receive a check for my portion of the dealership. So I make the decision that I'm going to leave, and I really feel like I need to invest in myself and do something for myself. Make a business for me and my family, one that someone's not magically going to get tired of working one day. They're going to go through a divorce and find a girlfriend and say, you know what? I appreciate everything you did for me, but I'm going to split. No, not going to happen anymore. I'm not going to give my life and my heart and my soul to someone that is going to oversee me, that's going to outrank me and outdecide me. Not going to do it. So I knew I needed to come up with a business plan and a brand for myself. And I'm someone that has always built a brand for myself, so I wanted that for me. Fast forward to me sitting on the couch with my wife, and my wife has a Cricut, and she's always making random things, making signs and stickers for vehicles, different vinyl work, occasional t-shirts, onesies, stuff like that. So as we're sitting there talking, I say to her, hey, you know what? I'd like to see this on a shirt, or can you make me this and I'll put it on a hat? Or so we start going over these things, and she says, well, how about instead of just telling them all to me right now, you just go ahead and put notes in your phone. Maybe just kind of come up with a list. So there I am on the couch, just typing away, putting things into my iPhone. And she looks over at me and says, what the heck are you doing? I said, well, I'm taking notes for things I'd like to see and design. And she says, I'm not going to fucking make all that. Make it yourself. And at that moment I said, make it myself. And I started to explore the idea of launching my own apparel brand, because I know, like I said to you before, I took two passions. I took sales and Harley-Davidson, and I put them together, and that was a key to success for me. So I knew in my next business venture, I needed to capitalize on a passion. That's why I was constantly thinking about what is it that I'm passionate about, that I can actually apply myself to, that I actually have a chance at going for, right? What's in my realm of possibility? And I realize that I always find myself in my downtime, when I'm just endlessly cruising online and, just wasting away life, that I'm super drawn to Americana stuff. I'm drawn to like outlaw designs, old school country, patriotic, true American bootstrap stuff, right? And I really am drawn to like Western style, but I really have an edge for more of a modern flair and a new school stuff. I'm really eclectic in my style preferences, and it's the same way as like my music preferences. You know what I mean? I can listen to anything. I can really be attracted to anything when it comes to apparel. So I'm always looking around. I have a random collection of these just cool t-shirts, you know what I mean? And I have an extreme abundance of snapback hats, like tons of them, more hats than I could probably ever wear, because I go somewhere and go, yeah, I want a snapback from this concert, this bar, this occasion. I'm gonna remember it. I need one of these. So I really felt that if I could do something that really encompasses all those things for me and starts to build on that passion for me, that we could go somewhere with it. As I'm thinking about this, I start reflecting on my time working for Harley-Davidson and the fact that Harley-Davidson is one of the most iconic brands, and it's worldwide known as being an iconic American brand, something that is made right here in the USA, and I take pride in that. And it's one of those things that working for Harley-Davidson that I was so very prideful of. One of the disappointing things for me working for Harley-Davidson was all the veterans that used to come in and ask us, hey, can I get some of your Made in USA t-shirts? Or can you point me in the direction where all of your Harley-Davidson stuff is that's made in USA? Like, I need a hat, I need a t-shirt, I need something that's made here. Sorry. It was so disappointing to look veterans in the eyes and say, this is made in Vietnam, Pakistan, Bangladesh, whatever, okay? It really tore me up inside to not have an American solution to that question. You know what I mean? So for me, I said, here's the deal. I'm thinking about starting this brand, and my brand is going to exclusively work with Made in America apparel. That was it. That's a calling card for me. That really pounds home the passion for me, because I am the most patriotic son of a bitch you're going to meet. My last name is Liberty. I was born this way. I was raised this way. It has to be this way. You know what I'm saying? At that time, I didn't realize truly how difficult this mission would be, because it ain't easy to buy and source and produce American-made apparel. So, fun fact for you guys, of all the apparel in this country that is bought here, that is worn here, only 2% of it is made here. But I knew I could make a difference. I knew we could highlight American manufacturing, and I knew that so many of you would back me in that cause, and you would show me your support, so it was important to me. On one of my last rides to work, I'm thinking, what am I going to call this brand? Like, what am I going to do and say? Like, what is the name going to be? And I'm not kidding when it just hit me, like, legitimately out of nowhere. My entire life, everybody tells me, you're too loud. You need to pipe down a little bit, okay? Take it down, Skid Row. Maybe, bring the mains down a little bit. You're running a little hot. So I've always been accused of being too loud. Also, I am extremely proud to be American. I am so excited about the red, white, and blue, I can't even tell you. I own more American flags than you could possibly imagine. So I'm extremely proud to be American. And considering the fact that I'm loud as hell, it just made sense. Loud, proud, American. But I really felt it has to be out there. Someone already owns this. But after all my searching and doing everything, nobody owned it. So I started the process, came up with the LLC, started moving forward, and I knew what I wanted to do, but next I needed to know how I'm going to do it. Now, screen printing really seems to be the number one answer to this question, right? But I knew I'm launching this adventure with really no background in apparel other than running a Harley-Davidson dealership and knowing, sourcing things and margins and things like that. But everything else, completely new to me, okay? And I'm kind of limited on space. I decided to build an office that we're in right now, actually in the basement. So kind of limited, right? I know screen printing is going to take up a heck of a lot more room. There's more overhead, there's more concerns and risks involved. So I said, there's got to be another way. I didn't want to go with a Cricut because I knew I was going to sell way too much to be weeding things out. I also didn't really like the feel of it overall over time. For me to have a premium brand and to give you a vinyl option, no offense against that, but it just didn't fit the bill for me. At that time, I'm searching everywhere, so I ended up learning about white toner printing, and I thought that that was the best possible option for me. So I took money from the dealership sale and I doubled down and bet on myself and decided to go for it and take a run at the white toner business. So I contacted Uninet, amazing company, great customer service, above and beyond, awesome customer service. We went through so many options. I believe it was a COO or CEO that I spoke with. I don't want to give his name, because I don't know if that's a common practice, but phenomenal guy, straight edge, awesome dude. Took the time to literally just sit down, and he said, get a notebook and let's just go at it, and I'm going to throw pros and cons and figure things out with you. And we settled in on their newest, latest and greatest machine. It was called the iColor 800, and it's actually right behind me over here, and maybe I'll splice in some footage of it working. So super awesome machine, really excited about it, but I knew it was going to be one heck of an undertaking, one heck of a learning process for me. Now, I want to back up real quick and tell you guys, the week that I signed off on the dealership to say, you know what, here goes nothing, I'm putting my signature on, I'm going to get a check. The day that that happened, I also walked out of the dealership and knew I would never go back. I said no to that six-figure job offer because I also felt that you're going to use me. You're going to use me to keep the staff peaceful, keep customers happy, and eventually you're going to get one of your guys to replace me with for a cheaper paycheck, and then you're going to escort me on out the door. So I factored all those things together and said, I'm leaving six figures behind. The day before I was due to sign my paperwork to walk away from six figures, to leave my career, to push away 10 years, to say goodbye to my 30-year plan, the day before that, my wife calls me in my office and says, I just lost my job. She was a manager at an animal hospital at this practice that was a brand new practice, launching it off the ground. She was actually the first hire that the doctors made, and they weren't making ends meet, and they let her go. The day before I said goodbye to everything that I thought was going to be my life plan. So now we're both unemployed. Think about that for a minute. I went from owning a Harley-Davidson dealership and my wife managing a vet's office to her being unemployed and me being unemployed. But I stuck with the dream and I moved forward. I did my paperwork, like I said, started my LLC, spent my money on the iColor 800, started my process. I went to some night school, some adult ed, to get an idea of how to use Adobe products, Photoshop, Illustrator, try to get a little bit of a background because I'm not a design guy and I'm definitely not an artist. I can't draw you a stick figure properly. So this is going to be an uphill climb, but I'm passionate about making it. So that first year, as luck would have it, right after launching the business, oops, here's COVID, and you're lucky to stay in business, pal. But what I will say is that for me, COVID came as a blessing because I fucked up a lot. I made a lot of mistakes. I wasted a lot of product. I didn't know what to do and how to do it. If my state was open the way it should have been, and I was going to follow the schedule that I made for myself, I would have crashed and burned. I would have failed miserably because I had an aggressive schedule, but I didn't have an aggressive skill set. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So I never would have made it. It's crazy to say it, but COVID saved my ass. I managed to do a few custom orders. I managed to actually put together a live sale where I sold my first batch of Loud Proud American snapbacks, sold out in hours. And with COVID, everything just jacked the brakes on. Apparel vendors weren't making apparel for me to buy anymore. They were making PPE stuff. They were making masks, right? It's almost impossible to get. Remember, 2% of what's actually bought, sold, and owned here is made here, right? So I don't have a lot of connections when it comes to apparel companies. I really only have two that I actually really trust. And this past year, I've started to work in a third one, but not easy. And when I say two that I really trust, one makes apparel, which for me, that's Royal Apparel, made right in New York, okay? And the one that makes my hats is called Union Wear in New Jersey. So fun fact for you, if you're out there and you're trying to grow American manufacturing, you're looking for a wholesale supplier because you have your own brands out there and you want to go American made, for me, Royal Apparel. That's who I trust. Super awesome quality, Union Wear, which I will let you know, with Union Wear, it's really the only game in town. So for me to make an order on hats, I'm waiting 4 or 5 weeks. Just a heads up. Back to 2020, that year was actually quite a bit of a train wreck, okay? It was one hell of a learning experience, but I didn't make much money. And at the end of it, when you factor out expenses and losses, I really didn't make money, but I managed to keep the lights on. So it was a real win for that, but it was a real just momentum killer. It was something that was really extremely challenging for me because I went from something where I felt that I was super talented in. If I went to a training for Harley-Davidson or any other kind of sales training or something, I'm going to tell you this. When I walked in the room, I felt I could teach the room. That's just how I felt. I had put so much of my life into this. I have watched every training possible. I learned everything possible. I dedicated myself to all things possible. So you couldn't stop me. I always felt that I could close any deal. I could make any sale. Part of it is I looked at it different, right? For me, I felt like it was more important than a sale. It was about the person and the experience and showing somebody, you know, that your dream is possible and connecting those dots. But when it comes down to just the facts and the process and the procedure, I don't think anybody could beat me. So I always felt no matter where I was the smartest guy in the room. Now, imagine me walking into an adult ed and I'm the first guy there, but I don't know anything. I've got high school kids showing me what to do, right? It was a humbling experience. And then applying myself to something, to a craft, to a business where I took my life savings and I bet on myself and my business and I'm failing miserably. Extremely humbling 2020. Now, as I started to come out of that and close the year with some momentum, I started to plan that aggressive schedule for 2021, hoping that, you know, COVID would lift a little bit and we could get back to normal. And thankfully we did. But it wasn't too long before I realized I can't hit the numbers, the volume that I want to with this iColor 800. No offense, great product. And it works awesome for those one-off custom orders, for small batch runs, but that's not where my head's at. That's not where my heart's at. That's not where my plans are at. That's not where I'm going to be at. I needed bigger and better. And no offense to that product, it is a great product, and I'm going to sum it up for you in a minute. But a couple things happened to me. Number one, the process of making what I needed to took way too long. Basically, I created online on an Adobe, and white toner, I have to use a lot of negative space to make that image not be a big sheet of plastic, okay? So for it to wear correctly, I need to have a lot of negative space. I also need to put in holes and lines that when you stretch your fabric, it'll actually break and breathe and just not have like a real cracking or a heavy effect to it or feel to it. So I design it, put it into my computer or put it into the RIP software that comes with the system, and then print it out. Maybe in the future I'll actually go through the process with you guys if you're interested, so you can see how I would do it. But basically my printer is going to run off this transparent sheet. Then I'm going to take another sheet that is actually like your white ink and your adhesive, and I'm going to take those two and I got to marry them together. So I'm going to put them on my heat press and I'm going to heat that sucker up, and it's going to sit there for, you know, a minute and 10 seconds or whatever. Take it off, and then you're going to pull it correctly, make sure that everything's nice and smooth, you're not getting hung up, you're not clogging the holes, you're not tearing something, which I can't tell you how much product I wasted in my first year just learning how to do that correctly. So that part was unbelievable, okay? It was a huge waste of money. But at that point, now I have my transfer. Now I have my stencil. So now I'm going to take my apparel, I'm going to put that on my press, I'm going to press that item, that transfer to it, then I'm going to pull it off and I'm going to set it over here and I'm going to let it cool for 10 minutes, okay? I'm going to grab another one and I'm going to do that. Now I'm going to go back, take that transfer and peel it off, and hopefully it happens correctly. Then I'm going to take that item, put it on my heat press and repress it to make sure that I really bake it in so that it increases the durability of it. So each item is getting touched so many times. It's such a lengthy process. That part of it was a huge hinder to my productivity. Then above and beyond that, once I started to kind of narrow it down to where I'm like, okay, this is how I know to design where it's going to feel okay, it's going to wear correctly. But at that point, I started to really wash things and realize that the durability isn't there. It is for so many cases, or for things that different uses you might have for it. But for someone that's trying to build a premium brand, a brand that is made in the USA, and one of the challenges you're going to run into is that if I'm using a made in USA brand, this t-shirt right here, this made in USA shirt from Royal Apparel, it's going to cost me 3 times, 4 times what it costs someone to buy, you know, a Gildan or, you know, Fruit of the Loom or anything you can really think of, okay? Anything made overseas, you're going to start the bidding at least 3 times higher for me. So for me to charge that premium to get some of my money back, I can't have something that's going to break down in a handful of washes. I just can't, right? To sum up my iColor experience, I'm not trying to shit on the product. I'm just going to tell you that for my brand, my durability, and the premium concept that I have, it just didn't work, okay? But what I will say about iColor is it was my college education, okay? The cost of the machine, the product, the learning curve, the humbling experience, all the trials, tribulations, failures, fuck-ups, and occasional successes, that was college for me. For a dude that didn't go to college. I do have a master's degree in sales from Harley-Davidson, if that's worth anything. That's a true thing, just so you know. Harley does have their own university, and I do have a diploma for that. So, pretty proud of that. That's the closest thing to college for me. But this was college for me. It was a lot of money in my first year. Lost, okay? A lot of learning curve in my first year. But I needed that. The learning of design and applying and trying and failing and how to tweak things to make things work. I'm not a professional at this moment. I'm not saying that I am, but I'm headed there, and I'm proud of where I am because of those failures and successes. My first year of business was a college education. The money that I spent with Uninet and with iColor was my college education, man. You got to pay your tuition. It is what it is. That's how I learned to do what I do now, and I still use it. I still use it to help design my product line. I can use it for trial and error. How does this look? Run a couple off, you know, wear it, see what it looks like before I move on to my next company. And we're about to get into my next company because my next company that I found really saved Loud Proud American, and it saved me, and I'm excited to tell you about them. But I don't want to throw shade or doubt on Uninet and the iColor. When it comes to white toner printing, best game in town. The only game in town for me when it comes to white toner printing is iColor. My 800 is a phenomenal machine. Their transfers, select, and standard, love it, okay? It just did not fit the bill that I needed for me. You know what I'm saying? It was more of a square peg, round hole, but pound on that square peg into the round hole gave me the education I needed. So if you're into those one-off designs, if you're doing bachelorette stuff, you know, small batch school things, whatever, it's perfect, okay? It's great for that. So it all comes down to what you're trying to do with what you have. And for me, I'm thankful for it because of the learning education that I got from it, but it did not fit the mold I needed for my brand. So I had to go in a different direction. At that point, I start trying several plastisol transfer companies, just trying to figure it out. And I'm not going to name names because I'm not trying to, you know, have a video where I'm putting down other companies. That's not at all who I am or where I am, because here I am just trying to build my own brand, right? So I'm not about to do that. But what I'm going to say is I failed miserably with those. Just the durability on them. I had some that were great. I had others that in 2 washes, they're bubbling up, they're peeling off. A lot of it is the quality of transfer, and maybe a lot of it is me and how I applied it. But it comes down to the fact that you need a company that you can feel confident in, but also you need to feel confident in the process of applying that company's transfer. Because if you don't, no matter how good that transfer is, if you're not confident in it, it's going to go to shit, okay? But if you're confident in the process and the transfer quality isn't high, then it's also going to go to shit, right? One of the biggest things for me is I need to believe in my product or I will not sell my product. When I was using white toner printing with my product, I didn't believe in it. I didn't believe in the durability, and I worried that I took my life savings and I bet on the wrong horse to win. You know what I mean? So I started trying these different plastisol transfer companies, and I ended up learning about a company called Supacolor. And when I heard of Supacolor, I went online and ordered a sample pack, and their sample pack came. But while I was waiting for the sample pack to show up, I started researching it, YouTubing it, and trying to get feedback on it. And so much positive feedback came back on Supacolor and on the durability, the washability, and the ease in the process and how to use things. I found two people that were super inspirational and monumental to me in giving me the confidence to really go forward with Supacolor. Those two people, superstar Stan Banks, T-Shirt Side Hustle, and my man Big Brando. Those two dudes, I watched everything they put out, okay? I've been fortunate enough that in 2022, I've actually had a few conversations with superstar Stan Banks. So for me, I feel like I'm making it here, people, okay? T-Shirt Side Hustle, Proud American, conversating, beautiful, okay? Brando, I know you're a Harley guy, man. We got tons of stuff to talk about, buddy. So let's not get too off track here, but the point is, I look to those guys, and I learn from those guys, and I consider them an inspiration and motivation, but it gave me the confidence that the product was going to be the right product. So when it got here, if it was fucked up, I probably fucked it up. To my surprise, to my hopes, to my dreams, it worked flawlessly, okay? And I washed the shit out of it. I took one shirt and I pressed every fucking sample they gave me onto that shirt, and then I put it in every load of laundry that I did. And I just was doing everybody's laundry I could. My mom's laundry, my dad's laundry, my wife's laundry, my laundry, dog's laundry, whatever, okay? I put that shirt in every one of them, and that shit never broke down. It was bulletproof. So I said, well, this is it, man. This is where I'm going. When you make the commitment to yourself and your business, and you bet on yourself and you do all these things, I said, I'm going for it. And I've made mistakes before by going too big. Like I said, oh, this transfer company is going to be great for me. Let me order 500 of them. And they're actually still on my shelf here. Not kidding. Look at this. Unused transfers. Right here. Plastisol transfers. Unused. Plastisol transfers. Unused. I don't believe in them. I don't have confidence in them. The stuff that I did make with them, I actually put them on sale and sold them with a no quality guarantee and expressed to people that I don't feel good about them holding up. So I made that mistake, but I felt so good after my wash test with Supacolor and watching T-Shirt Side Hustle and my boy Big Brando that I said, I'm doing it. I made my first order with Supacolor. I ordered 1,200 transfers. First order. 1,200 transfers. Cost me a little over $2,000. $2,000, 1,200 transfers, first fucking order with a company. So they showed up. I was super happy, super excited with the results. I'm working through things, and there was like a couple designs that I was struggling with, and I just wasn't peeling them right. And I went back to my roots from iColor, from white toner printing, and I started really tweaking the time, the dwell time, the temperature, messing things around. And I reached out to like the support desk for Supacolor. And then I got a phone call. Like I got a phone call back from somebody. Number one, they sent me directions, but I got a phone call from someone that said, hey man, I want to talk to you about this. What's your process? What are you using? How are you applying things? Are you pre-pressing? What's your temperature? What do you have for a press? We went through everything. And he's like, you found a nice workaround, but that's not efficient. And I think that with the right technique that and some trial and error, you could be efficient. And he said, listen, those transfers we sent you, we always put a few extras in there for this problem, for this learning curve. So, don't get your high quality product out. Get some cheap shirts and run through it. Let me know. Let's fine tune it and then get back to me. And he was right, And first off, how awesome a policy is it that I'm going to send you extra products so you can learn how to apply it? That in itself, killer, okay? So he does that, I fine tune it, and then I'm off and running from there. The productivity vastly increased, okay? And the time that it took me with white toner to make one shirt, I'm not going to exaggerate, but I could tell you at least 10. I could produce at least 10 shirts in the time it took me to do that one. And when I'm mass producing them, like when I'm going through an assembly line, that's normally how I do it, I couldn't even compare the two. It's extremely different. I mean, I could do in one day with Supacolor the amount of work that a week white toner printing. Not even kidding, because white toner, I'm going to have issues where, oh, humidity's off too much. I can't work today. I did too long of a run with my press. I got to shut it down and let it cool down. These weird things that you learn, which is fine, but for what I want to do, for the mass production I want to do, Supacolor saved my ass. The next thing is Supacolor's wash test, their durability test. We're talking 70 cycles. At 70 washes, you're fucking sure it's breaking down, not the stencil, okay? Your transfers, if it's breaking down at 70, that shirt let go long before that, okay? So that gave me something that I could believe in, something that I'm confident in. So I start using the hell out of Supacolor. For me, it just really gave me the confidence that I needed for me, my process, and my brand. Because now I can stand behind it. I have the cause, right? We're bringing back American manufacturing. 2% of the apparel in this country that we buy and own and wear is made here, okay? Let's make a difference in that. I believe so many of you listening can support that and you can stand behind that, right? So for me, the cause is there, the reason's there, the meaning's there, the drive is there. And not to sound ridiculous, but my balls are there, right? I bet on myself. I put them all on the line, man. My life savings, everything. It's on the line for me to make this brand go. Finally, I have a product that I can stand behind, that I'm excited to do. And it gives me the confidence that I would have with screen printing, right? But with screen printing, I don't have the room. I have the room to run with Supacolor, right? And there's so many other ways you could do this, but for me, I'm running my brand, and Supacolor just makes it so much easier for me to do it, okay? It's the best option for me at this time, for me and my business. I feel so good about Supacolor that I'm going to go ahead and tell you that in 2021, I made 9 orders with Supacolor, and I spent over $11,000 with Supacolor on transfers. A lot of you listening out there, that might not sound like a big deal, but for somebody with a small business that really has been in business for 2 years, but 2021 is my first year in the sun. You know what I mean? It's the first time I'm actually getting out there and I'm meeting people and I'm trying to sell and do my thing, right? I don't have COVID holding me back. I mean, we have restrictions to get through, but 2021 was it for me, man. It was my first real year of being in business. The first year, 2020, was my learning year. You know, that was my educational years. That was my college degree. 2021, that's making money for me. You know what I'm saying? So it was a big difference, and Supacolor got me there. So for me to go from losing money in 2020 and betting on myself to saying I can take 11 grand and give it to a company to help build my company, that was a huge expense for me. Massive expense, okay? But it paid off. It paid off in big dividends for me. I'm going to tell you that 2021, I didn't really meet the goal I set for myself. I was actually $27,000 short on the number that I had in my head and on paper, the goal I set for myself. I fell short by $27,000. But I made money with my business. I paid bills with my business. I grew my business, and I could stand behind my business. And without Supacolor, I would have never done that. I wouldn't be here. If I didn't find Supacolor and learn the process and the product and be passionate about it, I might have lost my brand, because the direction I was going, it wasn't going to work. It couldn't support me and my family and where I needed to go. And I guess at this point, I should tell you guys that for me, my first year in business, and really my first few years in business, how I've mapped this out for myself, a lot of it is guerrilla warfare, okay? It's guerrilla sales for me. I'm going out there and I'm meeting people, because I think people buy from people they like. And that's how it worked in the Harley world. It's it, man. All things created equal, you would rather buy from somebody you like. So in the world of sales, if you're buying a vehicle, if you're buying a motorhome, if you're buying a bass boat, you're buying a Harley, whatever it is, and all things created equal, same product, same price, I'd rather buy from the person that I like. That's how it works. Now, studies will actually tell you all things not created equal, people would still rather buy from somebody they like. So that means that you don't always have to be the cheapest. That means you don't always have to have the right color or the right time. Sometimes people just want to buy from you because they like you. And if I'm just selling strictly online, you don't know me. You don't know how if you do like me. So I'm going to get out there and meet as many people as I possibly can. So I tapped into those connections that I made in my 10 years for Harley-Davidson. And I started off my first event, Bentley Saloon, Arundel, Maine. If you guys know me personally, if you're Mainers, you know Bentley's. Bentley Warren is an inspiration to me. He's a role model to me. I love Bentley and I love Lisa. They're family to me. Actually, when my wife Allie and I, when we got married, Bentley was our chauffeur. And if you guys don't know Bentley Warren, look him up. He's a freaking legend. He has his own book, Wicked Fast. He's been on Dale Jr.'s podcast. Raced with the greatest, is one of the greatest, one of the most kind-hearted men you will ever meet in your life. He took a little tiny bar in my hometown and made it into this magical place, this big-ass campground, massive biker saloon. I've been working with him for a long time. So they're the first ones to welcome me in. And I set up at all the major holidays, Memorial Weekend, Labor Day weekend, 4th of July, Bike Week, which is big for me. And I would stack my events with doing some emceeing, doing some things like just being an event host. Bike Week, I've been actually emceeing their pinup contest for a long time. As you guys might know about me, I love doing those types of things. You heard me say in the beginning, I was an events coordinator. I was an events manager, so I have a background there and a real passion for it. I've never been scared of a microphone either. So you start adding all those things together. When I was building myself and building my own brand, when I worked for Harley-Davidson, it was about selling yourself and doing those things and being involved in those events. So way back then, I started off as a judge at this pinup contest at the saloon, and eventually I ended up overtaking the MC, and I started doing that. So this year will be our 10-year anniversary of doing that, which happens to fall on Laconia Bike Week in Laconia, New Hampshire, which is the oldest bike week around. So I go to Bentley's, set up my vendor display up there. I have an awesome tent, obviously made in the USA, from Extreme Canopy out in California. And I set up, and my mom will come over and help, my wife. I've had friends come over and help me run the booth. And I just sell out of the parking lot, right? Just like, pop in the trunk, selling albums, man. That's how we do it. And during Bike Week, I actually go over and MC the pinup contest. And I'm the lead sponsor for that. Also, I picked up DJing. And, right now I'm not great at my ability to DJ, but I can read a room and I can make you have some fun, shake your ass, and probably help you get laid. Just saying, So I start doing all these things to supplement my income and to grow the business. I also, with the help of my wife, she pushed me into becoming an MC for horse racing, for barrel racing. I actually got hired by the National Barrel Horse Association for Maine, and I think I called 6 or 8 events last year where I announced that, and that actually brought me to a whole new crowd of people, an entirely new customer base. And we would take our tent and actually set up at some of those events. And at the end of the year, I actually announced their state championship show. And what was so cool about that is at that state championship show, I also brought my tent, set that up, and Allie, my wife, was out there selling things, for the 2 days of the show. And I was inside announcing. I got paid to announce. I made money outside in my tent, and I also was hired to produce their rally weekend t-shirts. So I made all the shirts for the show, and I set up and sold at the show, and I announced at the show. So those are the things that I did. Last year, I did a handful of events at Bentley Saloon, obviously. I did a lot of horse racing events, some charity events, a PRCA, Pro Rodeo event, and made some great connections last year. I also took a couple leaps of faith, and I did my first fair. I set up at a 4-day fair, and it was the fair that I remembered as a kid, that I used to always go to with my parents and camp out at and just have so much fun at. They do off-road racing, like dirt track racing stuff, and it was a real passion for me as a kid because my dad used to race, my uncle did, and we used to camp there and have such these great memories. So I said, I think a fair is a good place for me. I'm going to go back to my youth, go back to my roots, and I'm going to go to that fair to make it my first fair. And it was successful, okay? It was pretty damn successful. Now, as the year starts passing, I'm looking at it saying, I'm not going to hit my number. I'm not going to do it. I need to add something else into the mix here. So this whole time, we've been eyeing our state's biggest fair. For the state of Maine, the biggest, the baddest, the best known fair that we have is called the Fryeburg Fair. And it's not like Texas State Fair, where it's not that big, but for Maine, it's pretty damn big. The fair takes place in October, and it runs Sunday to Sunday. And in the course of that time, you're going to get 70 or 80,000 people that are going to come through the fair between Sunday and Sunday. Now, before I tap into that fair, what I want to tell you is to make all this work, to run around the state and to set up all these places and to make things work, I actually purchased an ambulance. Not a glamorous one, not that ambulances are actually glamorous or anything, but I purchased a 1994 ambulance. I call it the glambulance, the Wambulance, the Loud Proud American Express. So I bought this old ambulance and I restored it a little bit. Got a couple cans of tractor paint from Tractor Supply, Massey Ferguson gray and some black. I rolled it out, brushed it out, put new tires on it. My father-in-law came over, did a bunch of work to it. My dad did work to it, and we made it functional. And what I do with the ambulance is I go to these events, load it up with all my stuff. I get there, unload everything, set everything up, and then I put an air mattress in there and I live in the ambulance to make things work, right? So now I'm not paying for a hotel, and now I'm staying right where my merchandise is so I can keep an eye on things. So I'm traveling the state in a 1994 ambulance, and I'm sleeping in it and selling out of it and doing all these things, right? So when you think about me going to a fair Sunday to Sunday, and all the time it takes to actually set up before the fair, I'm living in an ambulance for basically a couple of weeks. So you need to adapt all that to it. But as this fair is approaching, I'm thinking to myself, can I actually handle this? Like, do we have enough merchandise for this? Can we sustain the run to make this happen? And can I even get in? Because there's an actual application process where you send in a letter of intent, and you describe your business and where you've been and where you're going, and letters of recommendation, all these things, and photos of your display and your products, and you're trying to get in. It basically goes to like a board to review and decide if they're going to let you in. And I got accepted. I got accepted, man. I had this conversation with my family on everything that it was going to take to make this work. We bet on it, and we sent in the application, and they bet on us. They let us in. Now, I went into this with what I felt to be a bold and determined goal. I wrote down in my planner $20,000. I'm going to make $20,000 during this week, Sunday to Sunday, hell bent or high water. I'm going to make 20 grand. And my wife's like, why don't you maybe pull the goal down? I don't want you to be disappointed. But I said, no, I can do this. This is what's going to happen. This is what I feel for the brand and the potential in my first year there. So the other thing I'm going to say is, to make 20 grand, you need to have 3 times that, really, because it's not going to be ideal. You can't show up and say, I'm going to sell 20 grand and I have 20 grand worth of product. No, you're not going to have all the right sizes and colors to make that work. I have it written down, but to save time here, instead of me getting up and running around, I actually went there with nearly $80,000 in product, which is insane, right? So for a small business that, remember, a year ago didn't make any money. So here we are taking a run at it, and I have everything loaded down. And we went through so much, and we can maybe get into later what it takes to do one of these big fairs. But for me, I had to get there the Thursday before the fair started, start setting up. I'll also let you in on this little secret. My mom went with me, and when we pulled in to start setting up at the fair, I blew the front brakes out of the ambulance. Now I'm nearly 2 hours away from home, or an hour and a half away from home, whatever it is, and I don't have front brakes. I can't really go anywhere, and there's these people running all around. We start setting things up, go to our campsite, which our campsite is over a mile walk away from where my tent is, and we get there, start setting up camp, and when I go to plug everything in at night, I didn't bring an adapter, so I didn't have heat or lights or anything. It was the coldest night of my life, sleeping in that ambulance. I woke up many a times just from the surefire shaking. So fun fact there. Friday, we start setting up some more. Wife comes and picks me up. We come back down here because my band, the Loud Proud Americans, is playing at Bentley Saloon. And then Saturday morning, the wife and I go back, finish our setup process, and, get the camper area all set up. And then Sunday, the fair starts. And then that runs Sunday to Sunday. On Thursday, the wife had to come up and do a swap-a-rooney with me so I could come home and DJ at Bentley's, because as I told you, I'm doing whatever I can to supplement my income and then turn around and drive right back, right? So, long ordeal. But what I'm going to tell you is, first Sunday, last Sunday. On that last Sunday of the fair, halfway through the day, we hit 20,000 bucks. That means everything to me, right? What's crazy is, and what I'm going to tell you guys might sound kind of weird to you, but I put so much of myself on the line and so much of my energy and determination into hitting that number, into hitting that goal, that as soon as I hit $20,000, I started getting sick. Not kidding. Started getting the sniffles. My throat started closing. You're thinking, oh God, do I have COVID? But I knew it wasn't COVID because I knew that my body was just shutting down. Like, you've been in this 10-round fight and now you've made it, you know? And your body's just like, can we slow down now? Because we've done this. What I'm going to tell you is, Sunday to Sunday, my week at the fair, in my 8 days, $23,000. Providing the people with made in US of A apparel from Loud Proud American, supported by Supacolor. Because without a Supacolor, never would happen. I never could have fulfilled that much product. I never could have done it in that amount of time. I never could have stood behind it. I never could have been so confident in it, so proud in it. And man, unbelievable. That is my biggest success of 2021. 23 grand, 8 days, thanks to Supacolor. And a lot of hard work. And a lot of help from my family and support from all of you, and you know, good vendors, good product, Royal Apparel, made in USA, Union Wear, made in USA. But this, for me, just the start of it. 2022 is going to be bigger, badder, and better than ever, and I'm excited for it, man. So I wanted to start this section of the channel to let you guys, number one, have a little insight on who I am, where I've been, and where I'm headed. And I know this one's a bit of a longer one, but consider it more of a podcast episode, right? A lot of you guys tune into a podcast with me, Share the Struggle, available on Spotify, on iTunes, Audible, like Amazon Music. You can get it on Google Podcasts. Actually, right now, I just started the Facebook page, and if you're using your phone, you can stream it on Facebook, Share the Struggle Podcast. Look it up. But this episode's a lot longer. It's going to come off more like a podcast, and that's fine. I think there's a lot of benefit in doing this and sharing my story with you guys. But look for more sneak peeks, man. More maybe just jumping on sometimes and being like, man, you're not going to believe this success. Or you're going to think I'm an idiot. I really fucked this one up. There's strength in that, man. There's growth in that. And I think it's important to have this outlet on the channel. So I'm looking forward to having these things happen on YouTube. But I want to give a big shout out, man. Supacolor, okay? Royal Apparel, Union Wear, Superstar Stan Banks, T-shirt Side Hustle, Big Brando. You guys have been more of an inspiration to me than you know. So thank you for all you do. And I'm excited, man. I'm so excited about 2022. And I hope to keep leaking some of these out there. So I appreciate all y'all. So thank you for supporting my American dream.